Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 4, Let Me Stand By Your Fire. Or Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire. Bye. This was a fun episode. Honestly, I thought it had some pretty cool action sequences, especially, of course, the ending, where we get to see a pseudo old school Ghost Rider style, with the chain and stuff. But I like this one. It was pretty cool. We got Sky and Simmons working together. That I thought was really nice because, it starts off and it's like, oh, they're going and looking for, or she's looking for an apartment. And it's like, it seems too good to be true. I figured it was going to be some crazy villain setup, but of course it ends up just being Sky. So I was like, okay, that's not really what I thought. But when she shows up, it's like, man, her arm is messed. Like, the first thing I thought was like, wow, her arm is jacked up. And before I could even finish that thought, she's sliding down and there's just blood, like, clearly coming out of her back. And I'm like, oh, this is worse than I thought. And we find out that she dealt with some of the Watchdogs. And so she took a bullet, so she has to get healed up and stuff. And we see a cool little journey with, I still call her Sky, with Daisy, whatever. I'm probably going to jump back and forth now. But with Daisy and Simmons, they have this cool little adventure, and they have to go find the dude James from the last season. And I didn't think I'd hate that guy, but I do now. I was, like, we go through, he was always, the silly dude, and then, of course, the mind control stuff happened. So he had an interesting experience with finally becoming an Inhuman. And they go through this whole process and stuff, and it's like, alright, I'll help you guys out, we'll figure out what's going on. And then it turns out he's working with the Watchdogs to kill off all the Inhumans, and he's the last one to go. And I actually love that about this episode. He wasn't like, delusional or anything like, they'll kill all you guys off and I'll be walking around fine. I'm like, they're just going to kill everybody and then kill him. Like, they always have that in TV shows. But he was like insane. He was like, and I'll be the last to go. I was like, that was actually pretty cool. It changed the whole dynamic of it, where he knows how it's going to work. He knows exactly how it's going to play out. He's going to be the last one, the last Inhuman to go. And suddenly, he feels like there's a scourge and everything, like Inhumans are the worst. And, he dealt with Hive. He was mind controlled, so I could understand why his initial obsession, his perspective totally changed after being mind controlled as an Inhuman. So now it's like, oh, Inhumans are the worst and they should all be killed off. We should all be hunted down and, killed. And I was like, man, that is a crazy turn of events. Like, I actually liked him more when he was just a straight up villain in the last season than I do now, because he's just like a traitor. And it's just like, man, that really sucks. But he chose his lot in life. He has been captured by the end because he ends up dealing with Robbie, which is an awesome scene after he blows open the little storage unit, and he does the chain. And it was funny because when he picked up the chain, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, because in the last season they had him do that, I think, once or twice, and I was like, oh, it's like Ghost Rider, because he had the chain and it was set on fire. And so he whips it back, and of course it goes into slow motion, and Robbie grabs it, and then of course they have the little reference there, and he's like, huh, and so he takes the chain. And I was like, that was freaking sweet. And then I hated that it went to commercial, but when he like uses the chain and he whips it around him, I was like, that was actually just really awesome. Like, it's such a minor thing, but it was like, that's really cool. Like, it's a different Ghost Rider, but it's Ghost Rider using the chain, and he whips it around him and stuff, and he has him like when he's tied to the wall. And I was like, or he has him chained up, pinned against the wall. I was like, that's just really cool to see Ghost Rider using the chain, but it's technically a different Ghost Rider, so I thought it was cool. I actually like when Ghost Rider uses that chain. I think that, like, it's such a simple idea of a chain that's on fire. It's so simple, but I always thought it was really cool. And like when he wraps people up and like scorches them, I always thought that actually looked really sweet. So it's actually one of my favorite things, like visually, when they do stuff with like Marvel heroes and stuff like that. I've always loved that. It's such a simple thing to do, but I just always thought it looked really cool. So I love getting to see that in this episode. And they have a cool little fight scene, and then James, like, he blows up the wall, and they fall into the fireworks factory. So of course the whole freaking thing blows up, which it wouldn't have blown up like that. It would have looked totally different than that. But it was just like one massive explosion. I was like, well, that's not how that would have worked, but it still looked cool, and fireworks go off. And I was really surprised, but Robbie was actually able to save James in there. I was like, oh, I thought he would have been toast. Like, I knew Robbie would survive because that's like his ability. Like, he survives. His outfit, everything's fine. And which we found out, his car can't be damaged either. Like, it doesn't get dented or anything, even when he's not in his Ghost Rider form, which I thought was awesome. Just such a nice looking car. But I was really surprised. I was like, oh crap, he actually got him out of there alive. So I thought that was cool too. I was like, I didn't think he'd make it, but it was a nice little moment. Cool reference to, you know, classic Ghost Rider, you know, using the chain and everything like that. And we have, you know, our other side of the story, which is Radcliffe and Fitz trying to keep Aida a secret as far as being an android or, you know, full-on robot. You know, to May. And I thought that was cool. I actually liked that. I thought for sure something was going to go wrong with it, but, you know, it goes through. It actually works out fine. They had the funny scene because she's so literal. Like, where it's like, oh, where are you from? And she's like, oh, well, most of me is Chinese. And it's like, no, you know, it's such a weird thing to say that because no one would, you know, say it that way. They'd say, like, I'm part Chinese or something like that. And I just thought that was really funny. So, you know, I like the way all that stuff played out. And then everything kind of comes together. And Simmons just comes right in and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, she's an android. And she just knew it, like, right off the top. And I kind of like that. And then, of course, they talk about the lie detector stuff. So I'm assuming that that is going to be a big part of the next episode, where she has to find a way to hide the fact that, you know, not only the Aida thing, because that was, like, just an addition to what she had to lie about. But, of course, she turns around and she's like, you know, it won't be the only lie because of everything she went through with Daisy, where it's like, you know, she was gonna hide her and protect her, and she was on an unsanctioned mission, you know, mission and stuff. So I assume it'll work out, but I feel like there's gonna be something to it. There's obviously gonna be some tension. It might ultimately be fine, but somehow they'll make some tension out of it for sure. But I thought that was cool. She came in and was just like, you know, her speech patterns and this and that, and Vince is just like, oh, that's a weird thing to say about a person. And she's like, you know, oh, she's an android. And she had to say, like, you know, she's an android. He's like, well, of course I did, but I couldn't say anything. So I love the way they ended, you know, just that little scene I thought was pretty good. But definitely a fun episode. I thought the action at the end was pretty sweet. Excuse me, you know, the Watchdogs appear to be the main villains this season, which admittedly I kind of enjoy. I thought that was a cool aspect to it. They're kind of anti-S.H.I.E.L.D. They're like a whole, you know, they're basically their own organization now. They're almost, well, I shouldn't say they're almost up there with AIM. That's way too much of a stretch. But they're becoming their own thing, and they're becoming an actual legitimate problem, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm excited for what they do with them. You know, they had the other scene in the last episode where, you know, they're blacking out cities and stuff like that. They're hunting everybody down. We still don't know what's going on with this woman from the last episode. She doesn't even show up. So we still don't know what's going to be her deal. So she's probably going to be, I would assume, you know, because there's two main stories happening. So the one half is like the magic and the ghosts and stuff, which I'm assuming, because they've mentioned this book is like, you know, no one was ever able to find it. But, you know, we don't know what it is. And as soon as Coulson said that, I was like, I bet it's a tie-in to Doctor Strange, though. So I think that's gonna be like their tie-in to Doctor Strange and stuff. It'll be this magical book and things like that. And then the other side of the story is gonna be the Watchdogs. So I think the stuff with Robbie and the ghosts, you know, like characters, that'll be solved within the next couple episodes, I think. And then that's when it'll be 100% Watchdogs and whoever this woman is within S.H.I.E.L.D. and, you know, them taking everything down. And so I'm excited for how that's supposed to play out. And it seemed like, you know, they started with James, and it's like he was the one that allowed them to hack through the system and everything. So I don't know if that's gone or, you know, what the deal is, you know, with that, if their deal is gone now because they don't have his wristwatch to, you know, get to hack through. But I would assume that she is, you know, working with the Watchdogs because she was on the phone like, oh, the cities were blacked out and this and that happened. So she's a part of helping the Watchdogs. Maybe she's not even a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, she could be an Inhuman as well, you know, and she just doesn't like Inhumans just like James. Or she wants to be the last Inhuman but doesn't want to be killed off, you know, like him. So that mystery's still there, but we have the Watchdogs as a legitimate threat. They aren't just, you know, a couple episode sort of threat now. They seem to be at least half right now they're half the main villains, for the season. And I actually like that. It's very simple. It's a bunch of people. They're nameless. They just, they got the masks and stuff. They're nuts. They would just want to kill all the Inhumans off. So I think it has a good level of tension. They always seem to be underestimated because it's like, oh, they're just people that don't like Inhumans. But they always have some crazy stuff. They have EMPs blacking out cities and stuff. And, they're tracking people down. So they've become a really legitimate threat. And I actually like that idea. So I'm excited to see where they take it. We still got the mystery of this woman. We have to see what's going to happen with Gemma, when she does the lie detector test and how much that really has an effect. But I am excited to see what they do. They still got some stuff, some issues to solve. They got to get this book. They got to stop these ghosts. And someone's going to get the book within the next episode, and it probably won't be the good guys, by the end of it. And so we'll have, a couple more episodes at least of these ghost-like figures doing whatever it is that they plan on doing with this book. Whatever power it is. It's something big, too, because they mentioned, the Red Skull. Coulson mentioned Whitehall, and, of course, Fury as well. So this is a big deal, and it's an old deal, too. This isn't like everything's always ancient. It's either ancient or it's super soldier. That's it. But I thought it was cool. I was like, all right, I'm excited for what they're doing with this. It's building up like a really big climax for the first story, I guess, involving Robbie, and then we still got a bunch of underlying stuff with the Watchdogs. So there's a lot to look forward to, and I'm definitely excited for it. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and I actually want to know what you guys think is going to happen with this book. Like, how is this going to help these people? I think, let's see, Robbie killed one guy. They have the woman who's like the main ghost, and then there was like the other guy who he took off, I think, or he went with her or something like that. So it's the two of them out there now. And now we have this dude who's no longer in a coma, so they're going to get a couple answers from him as well. So there's a lot going on there. I feel like he might end up getting killed because he'll give some answers to Coulson and the team, and then the woman will come back like, you shouldn't have told them, and she'll, phase her fingers through his head and kill him or something. So, not 100% sure what to expect myself, but I would love to know your theories. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.